Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I would like to talk tonight about the Zimbabwe dollar, ZiG, the new currency. It looks like the regime is trying to stop the run on the ZiG by making it really difficult for people to have access to this currency in the first place. You hear of people queuing at the bank to get their money out. But this is as we expected. In the place there is restrictions on how much you can get. All it meant, you go in and you're allowed to only withdraw so much. And so you've got to come back again to withdraw another bit and so forth. This is a nightmare. Benjamin, what do you think?
Good day to you all. Yeah, we've been here before. I mean, I think now we could have said we are going around in circles, but I think we are in a maze and we are lost. We really don't know whether to turn left or to turn right. I think the regime has become clueless. You know, they cannot admit failure, hence they just blunder from pillar to post and hope it becomes a bolt from the blue and things just happen just like that. It's sad for the ordinary person, as always. You and I have to suffer at the expense of some clueless guy upstairs. It's really sad. It's really sad, and I think some things just got to give. It's just got to give at some point.
Yeah, I mean they've started. Well, the arresting of the money traders is going straight ahead, and as we know, there are some big prominent individuals who are already before the courts for trading in the ZiG, and apparently the blitz is still going on, and now they've even extended it to some of the big shopping stores like Jaggers and so forth, where they're arresting people for using the swipe cards. What their crime is beggars belief. Some of them, they're saying they are checking that if you're using a swipe card, for instance, it must be in your name and you must have an identity identifying you as the owner of that swipe card. All these rules are coming up just to make life very difficult. What is so illegal about if I've got a swipe card, giving it to my relative so that they can go and do the shopping? It's just unbelievable. This is just the chaos. And now they've introduced this mobile money service, which they blamed at one point for the currency crash. Now they're bringing it back. Unbelievable, Benjamin.
The foolishness behind this, and it doesn't make any sense at the end of the day. A majority of Zimbabweans are live in, spouses. Most people are not, they cannot afford, they want to get married, but they cannot afford to do the whole event. So a lot of people, they're just living together. So if one, I'll give you an example. I'm living with my wife, right? Definitely our surnames are different. I'm working. Let's say I'm a civil servant, and the wife is the one that does the groceries inside the house. She knows what is needed for her home, right? I give her the card to go and make a withdrawal or make a purchase. Do I have to write or give my identification? It's just crazy. Sometimes you just see this is just crazy. And to top it off, couple of I think back in 2020, they blamed this here mobile money services as the guys that were causing the what was it the RTGS of the bond to fall or to lose value. Then here you are, you're bringing back the same thing that was the problem. Okay, what has been solved now that wasn't solved then? Absolutely nothing. It's still the same. We in all our discussions, I think we are coming back to the same thing. The conditions or the underlying conditions, that are causing the fall of our currency have not yet been addressed. And we are expecting deja vu, just a ball from the blue, and everything is picture perfect. Surely this year, this is just like sad, really sad. I really, whoever is giving advice, they should stop listening to. This cannot go on. Tomorrow you're going to blame that. Tomorrow, I bet they will come after these same people. After people have invested, because there's some amounts that are needed for you, and transactions, POS machines and everything. It's just a way of collecting money out of people. And then once you've invested, to say I'm out to be an eco cash agent, you pay for the training, you pay for the equipment, and then a few months down the line they will tell you, no, 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 you guys are no good. Let's stop it. And then you've just lost your investment. You know. I think this is just unfair. And I think, I can't explain the stupidity behind it anyway.
Well, as regards this mobile money, my understanding of it is that the to stop it causing the ZiG to lose its value, they are saying that if there's any exchange between the ZiG and the foreign currency, it must be at the official exchange rate and not the black market one. I think all it will mean is, of course, if in the past one could go to, however you do your transfer of foreign currency to use the mobile phone, mobile money, and they will tell you what the exchange rate is. If now they are restricted to the lower exchange rate, so you will rather go on the black market to get your ZiG, and then you deposit that into your mobile money. And for the simple reason that, of course, you wouldn't want to find yourself in a situation where you get the lowest exchange rate for your foreign currency, and yet on the black market you could get a higher one. So I don't think this is going to change much. All it means is that people will be using the mobile money to do their transaction in ZiG and not in forex. Because if changing it, if you've got to pay in ZiG, you've got to use the official exchange rate. You'll be shortchanged. It's that simple. So I think that is not going to help. But again, one has got to say all these rules are coming up for the purposes of trying to shore up the ZiG. And one of the annoying ones is that it's very difficult to get the ZiG. Reducing its supply to try to shore it up, which has resulted in people queuing at the bank to get the ZiG. So I think this is just a chaotic way of doing things. And at the end of the day, like you correctly said, the ordinary person is the one who is at the receiving end of it all. It's bad enough that they what you get paid in ZiG if you're a civil servant, or even I suppose even if you are privately employed, is very little. And if it's deposited into your account, which is even for private companies, which they have to do because they can't get cash either, you have got to go and queue for it. And you may find yourself having to queue for 2, 3 days just to get enough money to pay your rent, for instance. It's a nightmare. It really is a nightmare. Why we are having to put up with this beggar's belief makes it very difficult for people to do business, and it's not helping. Yes, the ZiG will be able to retain its value, but this is really a kiya way of managing your currency.
I don't think it will work, honestly, to say somebody with eco cash. I have my ZiG. I want it converted to US dollar. I don't think anybody will give you. It just all comes back to what they said in the very first, statement, to say it's willing seller, willing buyer, willing buyer, willing seller. And it will be very easy. I think if it was to work out to say, I can easily just go to any of these agents and say, please convert for me my ZiG into into US dollar. It would work out very well for people because everybody would go with their ZiG and have it changed and go to the black market and get a better rate. If I'm going to do it at the official, I'm giving you a $13 and you're giving me $1. And once you give me that dollar, I go to the next guy on the street, he's giving me $20. That would be a very good deal for everybody. Then everybody would be doing it. So I really do not think they will be in that position to give. It's it's a way. I think the relationship would be one-sided to say you can only change, you know, your US dollar into ZiG. That is the only logical explanation behind it. Because if we were to do it vice versa, I'm telling you, the queues that would be there, everybody wanting to change their money into US dollar, would be overwhelming for all these agents, and they would not even have the money or the capacity, because everybody that is getting money in ZiG, be it from commuters, the combis, be it civil servants getting paid on their payday, everybody wants surety of the US dollar. We would overwhelm them, obviously. So I really do not think it's all say okay, come back. But one thing that is amazing about the black market is they will find a way to exploit the same system that they come up with. They think they have outdone it. They haven't seen anything yet. More is coming. So it's just cat and mouse trying to see who outwits the other until it's just it's a circus.
Yeah, this is just a short of somebody's notice. This is the post office savings bank, and saying that your account has been credited to the tune of 479.66 ZiG. Um, the note at the bottom of that was, this was the pay of a civil servant. And even if you look at the exchange rate, the official exchange rate of 13.73 ZiG to $1, this is less than $40 per month. How is somebody expected to survive to live for a whole month on $40? It really is a nightmare. It really is a nightmare. I honestly think this is, of course, that explains why so many people have been forced to leave the country. And those who can, they have left with their skills and experience. And yet somebody keeps on wittering about Zimbabwe is going to be an upper middle income country by 2030, in 6 years' time. An upper middle income where somebody earns $40 a month. It's a sick joke. Zimbabwe is in a serious economic situation. And I think this is something that those who are at the core face of it, we have got to face these challenges day in, day out. You really feel for them. This is not working at all. This is somebody's life. That is something that what are they expected to do? And even that 400, you are not allowed to go and withdraw it. You can't go to the bank. You can go and they'll tell you, oh, you can only be allowed to withdraw, say, 100 ZiG a day. 100 ZiG a day. So you've got to go for 4 days to get your salary. And if you live in a suburb, for instance, Tafara to the city center is a long distance. So you've got to pay for the bus fare to go to withdraw your money. And they've got to make 4 trips. It's just unbelievable. Life is really becoming near impossible. Under these economic conditions, life is becoming hell on earth. I don't think anyone should have to suffer so much. And this is in a country where unemployment is 80% plus. So if this civil servant is the breadwinner of the house, maybe he has got 4 or 5 other members in the family who are relying on kiya, informal trading, selling tomatoes at the street corners and so forth. And so he is the breadwinner. How are they surviving? I think Zimbabweans really should start looking at these problems and realizing that we are dealing here with the lives of millions of people. No wonder 49% of the Zimbabwe population today is considered to be living in abject poverty. This is just unacceptable.
Yeah, it's pretty disheartening, especially when you get to convert this money. It really doesn't help anything really when you look at the households. An average household in Zimbabwe consists maybe of 4 or 5 individuals. Now just try and you try and split this here amongst everybody. It's really difficult for you to from one month to the other because obviously they're paid once a month. So this Peter here is supposed to take you from the whole 30 days, including transport, including, and you got kids. Kids don't wait for 3 square meals. They eat in between. They go to school as well. So it's not just one person that is. It doesn't cater for the whole family. Just the traveling expense. You're not talking about the food. I think some guys are just heartless. If you are really willing to pay your employee such a poor, pathetic wage, it's inhumane. Surely, it's just sad. And I agree with you. As Zimbabweans, we are just too meek at times. We need to speak up.
Yeah, this is a short video of people queuing at the bank. Sad, really. So you spent 3-4 hours on the queue, queuing for money, and the amount of money you get is not enough to cover your expenses, and you've got to come back again. I think this is really tragic. I think Zimbabweans honestly have got to realize that this is unworkable. This has been going on for decades now. Zimbabwe has been experimenting with these currencies and inflation, hyperinflation, and trying to control the inflation by coming up with all manner of unconventional ways of controlling, trying to contain inflation. And most of those methods have caused untold hardships without solving the problem at all. This is just totally unacceptable. I think, honestly, people must sit down and realize, no, let's come up with a working. How are we going to solve this problem? We can't let this continue anymore. And the only way Zimbabwe is going to get out of this economic situation is by solving the fundamental. And the fundamental is the politics. As long as Zimbabwe remains a pariah state ruled by a corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical regime that has retained power by rigging elections, Zimbabwe's economic problems will never go away. That is the truth.
I just want to take time just to say something in regards to that post that you sent where there is the money, and it's actually written, SSB health and so forth, right? Zetherapy, and everybody is saying they are incapacitated. The unions are saying they're incapacitated. What surprises me the most, is all of them are all incapacitated. This week, you have, for example, the Minister of Education threatening that, they want their wages, sorted out, raised, or they will resort to strikes. 2 weeks later, you find the Minister of Education is threatening for a strike. Ministry of Health the following month. All of them are complaining the same thing. Why can't they come together with one voice and threaten at once? I think the bigger you are, the greater the chances of you being heard. I really do not. That is a question that I always ask myself to say, why these guys are all complaining about the same thing? Why don't you just do it together? Sometimes it's just, I think, sometimes as Zimbabweans, we we really need to put our act together. That's why I think government actually gets away with it. To say, these guys are actually complaining about the same thing. I mean, you can see SSB, you can see ZRP, you can see the health. SSB is one, one, but it includes a lot of ministries, education, health, you know, a lot. But you find they never come together. But yet they're getting paid more or less the same, poor wages. But they will never come together and go with one voice. I think that is one sad stance that these unions are playing with.
Well, I agree with you. But sometimes coming together is will help. Nonetheless, my argument would be that one of the things that we have got to accept in this Zimbabwe situation is that the economy itself is not performing. Zimbabwe's economy has collapsed. The regime is trying to run a government without the resources. Because when you look at the number of companies that have closed, that is where your tax was coming from. So now, how can they manage? Particularly when you look at this is a regime that has always had a bloated security sector. The police, the army, the CIO have all been bloated. I mean, particularly the army. When you think about it, Ian Smith was fighting the war with 2 brigades. After independence, the number of brigades, instead of going down, they went up. We've all heard about the 5th Brigade, the one that was responsible for most of the atrocities, the Gukurahundi atrocities. 5th Brigade. Why do you need another 3 more brigades when the war was over? But that is what we are dealing with here. We are dealing with a security state, a police state that firmly believes in police, and they have been buying arms and so forth. The main problem is, as long as the economy is in total meltdown, yes, the civil servants, the ordinary civil servants, teachers, nurses, and so forth, those have been made the sacrificial lambs. But even if they were to come together, it will not solve the problem of Zimbabwe's economic meltdown. There is no money. The economy is in serious trouble. What is needed is to revive the whole economy. Yes, I agree. Why should the teachers and the nurses be the sacrificial lambs? They are the sacrificial lambs. But even the police and the ordinary rank and file in the army, they will tell you that they are not, their salaries is not something to write home about. Some of the police stations, I think all of us know the sorry state of some of those police stations. The other week I saw a photograph of what the ordinary rank and file in the army was having in one of the barracks in Matabeleland. It's not a very appetizing meal, but that's all the government can afford. As long as the economy is in this mess, we are not solving the problem. We're just kicking the ball down the street. And now we have come to the dead end of that street. The only way to solve Zimbabwe's economic problem is to solve the political problem. Our problem is gross mismanagement, rampant corruption, and tyrannical rule. I think if the people of Zimbabwe had had the chance to remove this Zanu PF dictatorship out of office, they would have done it years ago. The main problem we have in Zimbabwe is that Zanu PF rigs the elections. And that's why we are stuck with this corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical regime for 44 years and counting. This cannot go on. That is the truth. You're talking about 49% of the population are living in abject poverty. That is a serious problem. And it's going away.
Yeah, I agree. It looks currently the picture looks more of a doom and gloom, because I mean we're already halfway through Mnangagwa's promise of 2030 vision 2030. Everybody is going to be in upper middle income, and yet there is no, the fundamentals are not even laid. The foundation for it to happen have not even been laid. And then you see people getting such wages. It's really sad. It's really sad. And I think, like you said, the only way we can sort this problem out is by addressing the political problem and looking at the problem, who is causing it, who is helping, and what needs to be done. I think if we can answer those questions, then we have a platform to move forward from. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. And to the listeners, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And hope to see you tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.